Hey, thanks for checking this one out. I really appreciate it. Before it all starts and it gets really stupid and weird, which I'm going to try and make this as stupid and weird as possible, I wanted to just take a quick second to acknowledge the fact that this tournament was named after John Hart or in honor of him, or however you want to look at it. And if you didn't know him, he was one of the best dudes in the world. One of my favorite people I've ever spent a lot of time with. He was my best friend. He was my bandmate. My roommate. Dude just kicked a lot of ass. And if you knew him, you know that. And if you didn't know him, you missed out. He's been gone for a long time, 2009. But we still think about him all the time. And some of the dudes who showed up to play in this did so just because of him, and I think that really speaks to how much he meant to all of us in our time together. So this is going to get weird. Like I said, this is a weird idea, and I don't know how the hell it's even going to work. I hope I can cobble together something interesting for you to watch. But I wanted to just start this off with kind of a real message about what he meant to me and why we decided to do this. So thank you very much for watching all this stuff. It means a lot to me. It really does. And the fact that you clicked on this one means even more. So thank you. And I give you the John Hart Memorial Sim Golf Tournament. Welcome back to Through Me Golf. Thank you very much for tuning in today. We have a special treat for you this afternoon or morning or evening or whenever you're watching this video. The John Hart Memorial Sim Golf Tournament. The first ever, maybe annual, who knows, golf tournament in honor of our fallen friend John Hart, who passed away in 2009. This has been a real interesting adventure trying to corral the participants and entries into this video. I'm hoping that you enjoy watching it all take place. There are some kind of interesting setups as far as the handicaps go. We played from some different tee markers. Some of the shots didn't record. The camera didn't work on a couple of them. Just the stuff that you would expect from the Through Me Golf channel. But I think it worked out pretty well. So it comes down to the wire. You got to stick with us throughout this whole adventure. And hopefully we'll have some entertaining golf for you as we go. Before we get into the golf and the player introductions, I do want to send it over to some sponsors who worked with us to make this video possible. So real quick break, and then we'll be back with the player introductions.
Kick it, Bryce!
What a wonderful group of sponsors. You would be a fool not to give them your money and likes and follows and everything else that you can do to support a small business these days. Thank you very much to them and to you for getting over to their pages and liking them immediately. We'll wait. Just kidding. All right, we're going to head over to the first hole here and introduce you to the first threesome in the official start of the John Hart Memorial Sim Golf Tournament. We have Jason, Justin, and Rob, and we're going to learn a little bit more about them right now. All right, this is Jason here. Jason, not a frequent golfer, but his knees are made of paper mache, and needed a sport he could compete at, and has taken to golf quite well. And this is Justin. Justin is always smiling exactly like this, which makes him really easy to be very mad at when he is beating you in things. So everybody roots against him. But good dude. Would love to see him win this one. Rob is a jiu-jitsu black belt. Doesn't play a whole lot of golf, but is getting more into the game as we've gotten a little bit older. He plays guitar in 5 Star Fracture, which is one of the bands that intros all of the videos I've made thus far. So before this actually gets started, if you haven't ever seen anything on this channel, I wanted to give you a quick overview of kind of how it looks. This is Jason hitting the first tee shot in the history of the tournament. And of course, the camera stops working almost immediately. But this is kind of how it goes. Up top left, you can see the score as the player is going, and I will update that to reflect the net nature of this tournament. But it is kind of rapid fire. It can get a little vertigo inducing, but wanted to give you a quick shot of how it looks. This is the first threesome hitting their first tee shots, and then I'll explain the handicap system here shortly and make a little bit more sense of what this actually looks like. All right, let's get the rest of these player introductions out of the way. This is Danny. Danny was just on the first episode of this season's American Idol, which is incredible. He's also a fellow MCC member with me and plays golf with me on occasion. Great dude. Here's Wayne. Wayne, not much of a golfer at all, but showed up for the tournament because he's one of the best dudes around. Hits a chipper in this tournament, which is incredible. I'll make sure and highlight that later. But really cool to have Wayne on this. And to round out the threesome, we have Mitch. Mitch is the 2025 Hawktree Shootout champion, and is a guy that I've played golf with quite a bit outside, much to his chagrin. Next up, you have me. You've seen me play enough golf on this channel. I'll try to keep my shots to a minimum, although they do come into play eventually. Multiple-time Dudes and Bros champion. Got to make sure I bring that up just so everybody knows. Nick was in town, asked if he could come play sim golf for a little bit. I said, sure, but you're going to play by yourself in a golf tournament that I made up. And he was cool enough to do that. So shout out Nick for participating. That was really awesome. And rounding out all the participants is Jesse. Jesse moved away, so he had to do this virtually with us, but I think it worked out okay, and it was cool to have him. Wouldn't have been a tournament without him, so I was really excited that he made the time for us and gave Nick someone to play with too. All right, so let's check out a little bit of golf here. This is the third hole. Showed you the first couple drives just for, because they were the first ones, and then no one really did anything cool on the second hole. But this gives me a little bit of a time to explain the handicap system. So everybody played from different tee boxes, or most of us played from different tee boxes, and we took the handicap from that tee box, which ended up being a big hassle, which is why this is being shown a little bit more in like a highlight style. I just picked people who were playing holes and kind of showed you the hole that they were playing. Most of it is, good stuff. I tried to leave some of the bad. I was going to put a bunch of my bad shots in it just for fun, but left it alone. But you can see up top in the left, if the person gets a stroke, it will say no stroke if they don't. And then you'll see in the score here, right after Mitch drains that putt, that was a par for net bird. And Jesse, a net eagle. So you'll see that reflected in the score as well. I just wanted to call that out because it is a net tournament. You will see one more shot than is counting, but I'll make sure and keep the scoreboards accurate and updated so you know what the hell's going on. Otherwise, it definitely gets a little jarring. And rather than talk this whole time, I'm going to play a little bit of music here. This is Takes Manhattan in honor of John.
With
This is pretty awesome timing for this song to end right here. This was for an actual eagle, net albatross, and everybody was pretty hyped. Unfortunately, I'll have to settle for a net eagle on this one. And Justin taps in for a net eagle as well. Let's see if Danny can make it 3 in a row for the net eagle crew. Never a doubt. So this is Wayne's first shot of the tournament. Featured of the tournament, obviously, is on the 5th hole. A little unceremonious, if we're being honest, but he kind of pays it off at the end, and that's why he's being featured. So one other thing that you're going to notice as this goes is that the audio is just all over hell. Hopefully not my audio, but the audio of the actual golfers themselves. Sometimes the microphones worked. You can see a microphone right there on the launch monitor for Mitch, but no noise at all. Sometimes it picked up too much. Sometimes we talk too much, like in Nick and Jesse's videos. So it's all over the place. I tried to leave some contact in because I do think it's nice to have a little bit of golf noise, but obviously tried to take out some of the chatter and was limited by some of the microphone success. So again, here you can see Wayne kind of working. He's sneaking his way up to the green. He's sneaking up to the green, very coy, like a puma. That's what he's known for. He's very elegant, very sneaky. Enough about that. But here's Mitch hitting a pretty good one. And the back to the puma here is, I mean, this is one of the better shots anybody hit in a while, and it was really cool to see Wayne knock this one close. Got to see if we can pay it off. All right, so Mitch is going to have about 27 feet here for an actual birdie. Does not get a bump here. And he drains it. Look at that. And a little bit of showmanship for the true bird. Got to respect it. Justin also not getting a shot here. Also from deep. Also for bird.
Great putt. Whoa, nice.
And he rams it home. Look at that. 2 natural birds on 1 hole. And here comes the puma. The newly christened puma. Just lips it out. I thought for sure he was going to make that one. I was really excited. That would have been electric. Look at the absurd line he takes on this drive. Just unbelievable. He's going to have 106 yards in to a par 5. I love it. So I had to make sure I talked about that a little bit. But in keeping with the sort of highlight, I guess, strategy that I've employed throughout this front 9, I'm going to toss a little more music on. When we get to the back, I will have like a running scoreboard, so it makes a little bit more sense where everybody's standing. For now, I just wanted to show some shots, and frankly, it's really a big pain in the ass to build the scoreboard, and I didn't want to do it the whole time. So you will catch up. It will make sense. For now, I'm just showing some cool shots, some cool holes, whatever, and we'll let that kind of speak for itself. But I'm going to toss a little more music on, and when we get to the back, we'll make it a little bit more official.
Maybe I've strayed everything that weighs down on me is eclipsed by the song.
So the ninth hole was our long drive hole, designated as such. I was gonna do it just any hole, but I thought that wouldn't be very fair because there's a couple that bend a little bit more or whatever that shape to specific shot shapes that people have. So I left it as hole 9. The closest to the pin is on 14, which you'll see later, and then the long putt was on every hole. And the reason for that was obviously just, if we designated it as one hole and somebody made like a 5.5 footer, that wouldn't have been very fun. So the long putt is any hole, but this is the long drive on number 9. I'm not going to show you the whole hole. We're just going to show the drives. But there are some beauts and there were some bads. We're only going to show the beauts, the qualifiers, and we'll update the leaderboard at the end so you can see where everybody stood. Fun fact about Danny's long drive title is earlier in the video, I didn't show it, but he didn't hit driver on one of the par 5s. Took a double or triple, I can't remember, and then just started roping driver. So congrats to Danny on winning the title. And here's the full leaderboard through 9. Like I said, this is going to start to make a little more sense as a tournament. I'm going to show you one or maybe 2 more holes with a song over it just to give 5-star a little love here as well. But Jason's got a 2-stroke lead heading into the back. Let's see if he can hold on. Okay, if you remember back a little while ago, the long putt contest was on any hole, so you can probably figure out how this is going to end. And there it is. And look how excited he looks. He's absolutely thrilled with that putt. But what a runaway victory for Jesse on the long putt. Congratulations to him. And now we're going to start getting into the nitty-gritty of the golf tournament.
It's the best drive of the day. No, it's gonna be fine. That's gonna be fine. That's gonna be.
What did I tell you about Danny just ripping drives? Look at that thing. Unbelievable. Wanted to pop back in and just talk a little bit about the leaderboard. As you can see now, hopefully there's a little more context to the tournament. I am going to leave the video format the same way just because I think it's a little too jarring to just show shots. At least when I messed with it, it just didn't feel good trying to just watch like one shot from everybody. So I tried to kind of structure it like golf. You know, you're farther out, whatever. Hopefully that works. If not, you can yell at me in the comments. But it just didn't really work showing highlight shots, so I wanted to do highlight holes. As this goes on, I will continue to bop in as needed. But Jason, 3-stroke lead, but 5 people within shouting distance. And honestly, there's a lot of strokes out there. Jason has a couple too, a lot of pops, but there's strokes out there for everybody. So this thing is one bad hole from Jason or one really good hole from everybody else. But look at this shot. I had to make sure I was talking for this one. Is Rob just from 38 yards, knocking it to 4 feet for the nice net bird. You got to love that. Keeping his tournament alive. And Danny has this for birdie, which would put him in a tie for third and within striking distance as well. And he just leaves it short. But good hole, good par. No stroke there, so that is a par. And here I am to get back to even par and only 4 strokes out of the lead. And I actually made it. What a surprise. Now we're on hole 14, which is the closest to the pin contest. I showed this whole hole because there is some tournament-related context as well. You can see Jason dropped a shot on 12, so now it is only a 2-stroke lead. Here comes the chipper. Was really excited about this in real life. Unfortunately, didn't quite give it enough, but I was thrilled to see a chipper in the sim for the first time. This is a good net par from Wayne there. But this is 4 par. Jason does not stroke, and this is 4 par. He is the leader. What an unbelievable roll to stay at 3 under, to keep the dogs at bay, drained, and he is thrilled. Justin is not with his outcome. But Justin should be thrilled because he won the closest to the pin. Only 2 people hit the green in the closest to the pin challenge. So a quick leaderboard update here as we watch the leader, Jason, tee off on 15. Still 2 strokes. Nick is right there, was unable to capitalize on a bird to make it 1. I made a bogey to drop myself back to 1 over, which was unfortunate, obviously, or fortunate if you're rooting against me, which you probably should be. And Danny's right there as well. Jesse, 1 good hole away from kind of getting back in contention too. You know, it was funny as you kind of see everybody here everybody started to kind of turn it on in the back. Obviously, there was a couple people that struggled a little bit, and as you can see, the leader kind of duffs one here, but you know, people just started to kind of get an idea of the role and the pitching and stuff. I mean, that shot from Rob was phenomenal. You could just tell that this was a very important golf tournament that everybody was extremely excited to try and win. Again, stop me if you've heard this before, but I have this for birdie to get back to even. And that had a little pace on it, but it does drop. And now all of a sudden we're kind of thinking maybe we got a chance. Here's Rob for his net bird, 4 for 3. Easy game, rolls it in, gives it a little shimmy. Look at that boy. And here's Jason for his net bird as well. And of course he drains it. Everybody thought maybe they had a little bit of a chance, but he drains it. So through 15 holes, Jason is now 4 under, back to his 3-stroke lead over Nick, but this is a par 5. Now, of course, it's a par 5 for Jason, and he does stroke, but it's a par 5 for everybody, and guess what? We all stroke. So it's really kind of evens the playing field a little bit here. Everybody strokes. It's a par 5, pretty reachable for the boys playing up close. And unfortunately, Nick goes and does that. Ooh, that's not going to get it done. But still gets a stroke, still a short hole. Little longer for your boy here. But luckily, absolutely nuke one and keep myself in the hole and in the hunt for the tournament. I thought this was good when I swung. Thought I drew that in perfect. Thought we were tapping in for an albatross. Net albatross, of course. But unfortunately, it just kind of hung out there. And needed Jason to hit a bad one here. Kind of does. It's pretty deep, but the way he's been putting, I was pretty confident he was going to get that close. And one of the worst things about this tournament is that Nick and Jason look like the exact same guy. The forearm tattoo helps a little bit. Unfortunately, it comes down to both of them, and I had to use them back-to-back a lot. Sorry about that, but blame them for being the same dude. Anyway, Mitch, this is just unbelievable here. Kind of a tough tee shot, but he nestles it real close for the net eagle. What more can you say about that? Here's the bunker game, which, as you all know, if you've watched any of my series, is a real crapshoot. But actually hit a pretty decent one for a net eagle myself. Get myself back into it. Mitch now going to be 5 over. I'm going to be 2 under. Jason has this for another net albatross, but that would have been a pretty unbelievable putt. It's a great chance, don't get me wrong. Great try, but that would have been a hell of a roll. And then Nick has this for a birdie net eagle, which would have been a hell of a hole from the water. Unfortunately, he just hit his a little too hard. But here's Jason to clean up the net eagle, and does so very easily, while Nick has this for net bird after hitting the water. Pretty impressive stuff. Both guys really locking in when it matters most. So no strokes here on 17, and it's going to come down to the 3 that you see or have seen on the last few holes. So we're going to cut the coverage down to just 3. Jason hits kind of a squirrely shot there. He just needs to probably make a par to put some pressure on the boys, because neither of them are going to stroke on this hole. But Nick doesn't really hit a very good one either. and I skank one and get kind of lucky, if I'm being honest. But I'm in the bunker again, which, again, crapshoot. Jason has to get this up and down, and honestly, that might be the tournament if he does, because he, just is playing so well. He does stroke on 18, and with Nick and me not stroking on 17 or 18, he could pretty much end this thing right here with the par. Really good shot from Nick there to try and, save par, keep his tournament hopes alive. Here's me out of the bunker, and got a little too aggressive, of course. Might have to drop myself from coverage after that one. Here's the par putt. All right, so he does miss it. That's going to be a bogey for the leader to drop him to 5 under par. And here's me from 12. Shockingly, actually make it to keep myself in contention and give myself a look. And here's Nick for his par after a remarkable chip. Easy game. All right, so heading into the 18th hole, we have Jason 5 under, and Nick and I tied for second and 2 under. Something really crazy is going to have to happen here, but good news, there is potential for crazy on this hole. As you can tell, it gets pretty tight. The left side to the left of the cart path is out of bounds. There is water right. So really what this boils down to is if Jason hits the fairway, this thing is over, right? But he has to make sure that he is taking all considerations. And that's driver. That's driver in his hands. He says, I'm going to win this thing. I'm not going to limp to the finish, but I'm going to put driver in my hands, throw caution to the wind, and I'm going to win this thing right now. I'm going to protect my 3-stroke lead. And there goes the 3-stroke lead. That is sailing out of bounds, folks, and we have ourselves a tournament. He does not get a bounce off of the pillar there. He has hit it OB, and he will opt to re-hit. I guess not opt. He didn't. That was the option he had in the sim tournament. We are playing old school rules, out of bounds. He does opt for an iron there, just to kind of lay up. Some might say that's what he should have done the whole time, but we're going to stick with Jason for maximum drama after the pole drive. He does have this shot to try and sneak up on the hole. Kind of chunks it. The door is WD-40'd and swinging freely. It's not completely open, but it definitely is starting to feel like maybe the boys, Nick and Taylor, have a chance to get back in this thing. Jason does stroke here, so remember that. This will be a net hole for him. He just misses. He'll settle for a net double, which drops him to 3 under par, which means Nick or I, all we have to do is make a birdie, and we're going to push this thing to a playoff, which we did not account for in the filming of the process, but we will go to a scorecard playoff. And remember, I'm running this thing, and I can do whatever the hell I want. So, scorecard playoff might be a hole that nobody strokes on, and we'll see what happens. But for now, we have to make sure one of us makes this birdie to make it happen. So, Nick also, saw what Jason did, opts for an iron off the tee. Smart. He doesn't stroke here, but he knows that you can't make a birdie if you hit it out of bounds, and you probably won't make a birdie if you hit it in the water. So he lays up. I was far enough back that I could just rip driver and hit a pretty good one. I was pretty happy with that. Really, this is a pretty smooth distance for me, and hit it like an absolute clown. Nice 9-iron. That should have been perfect. It was the distance, just pulled it like a dipshit, and could feel my tournament hopes slipping away. Here's Nick with a, I think he'd be pretty happy with this if you asked him. Obviously, it's going to be kind of a tough shot, but it does stay in the fairway, so he can putt it. Out of the bunker, everybody's favorite shot in the history of these stupid videos, for the tie. And I did not get it done. Jason remains the leader, and it's all up to Nick. Nick's going to take a putter here from the fairway. Just got to get it to the hole, really. You got to give it a chance. This is to tie the John Hart Memorial Sim Golf Tournament, first ever, and push it to a scorecard playoff. And unfortunately, he just cannot get it to the hole. We're going to see a couple tap-ins here. Or, excuse me, he tapped in for par because he was in the gimme. There's a tap-in for me. And congratulations, Jason, 3 under par. Didn't take it wire to wire. He made a bogey on the first hole. But he was the leader pretty much the entire time. Managed to hold us off, even with the double on 18. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it if you made it this far. Shout out to all the bands that were involved, all the sponsors that we had, Timebomb Pro Wrestling, Frames by Ryan James, Jenson Creative, all good friends of mine and all people that you should give your money to. So thank you very much. Shout out John Hart. I love you, buddy. Everyone else, take care of yourself. I know a lot of shit going on in the world out there, but stay strong, stay positive. Love you.
She must